I did hit the wrong button and did not prepare as well as I should have. But either way, the predictions need to get going because it is time to talk about NXT Deadline, the final NXT pay-per-view of 2022, which takes place tonight, December the 10th. And the featured presentation of the match, or the most talked about part of tonight's event, is the New Day. No, I'm only kidding. Even though the New Day are featured on tonight's event, the New Day is not, or are not, the most talked about part of tonight's event. The most talked about part of tonight's event is by far the Iron Survivor Challenge, which we will get to in a little bit. But first, we need to talk about the NXT Tag Team title match set for tonight, as Pretty Deadly defend against the New Day for the NXT Tag Team titles. Pretty Deadly have made NXT a bit of their playground, or pretty much their playground, over the last couple of months, as they are the shortest reigning champions in NXT, with both Mandy Rose and, well, next to Wesley, of course, but, you know, Carmelo Hayes was up there as far as the North American title, but next to Mandy Rose and Braun Breaker, Pretty Deadly have only held their title for less than 100 days. Going again, but the New Day are by far a challenge that Pretty Deadly have never fought, as the New Day are, in my opinion, by far one of the most decorated tag teams in WWE history of the last 2 decades. And in my opinion, I think if Pretty Deadly is going to drop the titles, it really depends on where they're going with this idea of having the New Day in NXT. If the New Day are going to be around NXT for the time being, honestly, I don't know, to be honest with you. Honestly, I don't know. I think it could go either way. I could see Pretty Deadly stealing the belt and maintaining a championship reign, but I could also see the New Day winning the titles and sticking around in NXT for a little bit, sort of like Dolph Ziggler did at the outset of the year during his feud with Braun Breaker. So I think I'm going to go the route of the New Day picking up the victory tonight and becoming the new NXT Tag Team Champions. Also, outside of the Iron Survivor Challenge matches, we have Alba Fire versus Ilsa Dawn, as these two go back to the now defunct NXT UK brand. They teamed and feuded across the pond. I don't know a lot about these people, so I am reading this off of the prediction website, or the predictions listed on CagesideSeats.com, as they are being very helpful with helping me understand the expectations for tonight's NXT Deadline event, as they do bring up a good point. This is Ilsa Dawn's debut stateside, so you don't really want to beat her in her first match in NXT stateside unless you don't anticipate her sticking around stateside. Then that's different, but at the same time, you gotta wonder, momentum-wise, like, it can't just be a short-sighted decision of, okay, she's not, she's staying, but we're not gonna have her win. But, because if she's staying, you should have her win, in my opinion. Because again, you don't have her lose her first match stateside to have her stick around. You only have her lose if she's leaving, which I don't see that happening. But if you want to have her come up short in the rematch, that's one thing. But have her lose in her first match in NXT, don't let her follow suit with the rest of the NXT talent that came up short. But also, think about it. Somebody like Tyler Bate worked once when Worlds Collide and has not been seen in NXT since because he wasn't sticking around. There's a difference. If Ilsa Dawn is sticking around, which hopefully she is because she would be a good get for the NXT Women's Division, that if she is sticking around, then she needs to get the victory tonight against Alba Fire. Because also, you can't think of it from the standpoint of Mandy Rose needing a challenger, because that is what the Iron Survivor Challenge match is supposed to bring us, and that's where we go now, with the Iron Survivor Challenge match being the featured match of the card in every standpoint, with Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, Zoe Stark, and Kiana James, Indy Hartwell in the Iron Survivor Challenge match. I don't know what to make of the Iron Survivor Challenge, but what I do know is I would be stupendously excited about the idea of seeing the Iron Survivor Challenge in WWE 2K next year. So hopefully this match goes off without a hitch, and it is something that we can see next year. Just to go over the rules, 5 superstars will compete in the match in this unique 25-minute match as they battle each other and the clock. The 2 superstars will start the match. 2 superstars will start the match, and every 5 minutes a new superstar will enter the match until all 5 superstars are in the ring. The goal is to have the most falls when the clock hits 25. Falls can be won at any time via pinfall, submission, or disqualification. When a superstar scores a fall, they will earn 1 point. When a superstar loses a fall, that superstar must pay the penalty. They are forced to out of the ring and into the penalty box for 90 seconds. Once 90 seconds are up, the superstar can re-enter the match. The superstar who has scored the most falls when the clock hits 25 will be named the Iron Survivor and become the #1 contender for the NXT Championship and the NXT Women's Championship, respectively. As I said, it is a bunch of women that have been featured very prominently, and since the changeover and the rebranding back last year, and in my opinion, none of them have gotten that opportunity to stick out and be spotlighted with a moment in the sun. So I could see, in my opinion, I could see somebody like, I'm thinking, honestly, I was thinking Roxanne Perez, but that was before Indy Hartwell got given the opportunity. That's before Indy Hartwell was given the opportunity to be the wild card, winning the wild card triple threat match last week. Honestly, I think that I would agree that whoever does win this match will be the one to dethrone Mandy Rose and end the never-ending title reign. The one reason why I'm changing my initial decision is because I think giving it to Roxanne Perez may be a little bit predictable. And Cora Jade and Casey and Zoe Stark are both heels, so that they need to go the route of a babyface. And I think, again, I don't know where Kiana James is as far as the babyface heel dynamic, because I don't know a lot about Kiana James. But if Indy Hartwell's the only other babyface, I think Roxanne Perez, again, is a little too predictable. So I think Indy Hartwell's the right decision to be the Iron Survivor in this one. As far as the men's side, you have Carmelo Hayes, Grayson Waller, Joe Gacy, J.D. McDonough, and Axiom in the Iron Survivor Challenge match. I think you have a number of these guys who could be on the main roster within the next year. That being Hayes, Waller, J.D. McDonough. Joe Gacy is still a little early in his gimmick and needs a little bit more character development, so he needs a little bit more seasoning down in NXT. So I would say that Gacy and Axiom are the two that will stick down in NXT for the longest time. But the reason why I pick focus on those three, Waller, Hayes, and McDonough, is because of the five in the match. I think those three are the most likely to possibly get the victory. But you got to focus on the people that have never fought Braun Breaker, and JD McDonough has fought Braun Breaker, and it was very, 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 very close to seeing McDonough finally dethrone Braun Breaker and give us somebody new in the title picture. But I think if there's anyone that WWE will give the Iron Survivor Challenge to, I think the only reason why Carmelo Hayes stays down at NXT is to be the one that dethrones Braun Breaker as the NXT World Champion, and that maybe Breaker will make his move up to the main roster, especially if main roster talent are going to start free flowing back and forth. So I think Melo becomes the Iron Survivor on the men's side and becomes the number one contender for Braun Breaker and the NXT Championship. Now to the main event. The NXT World Championship is on the line. Braun Breaker against Apollo Crews for the NXT World Championship. And this is what I meant, that if people from the main roster are um, if people from the main roster are going to keep free flowing back to NXT, like Apollo Crews, but it seems like Apollo is going to be down here in NXT for the long term. So I think, if anything, going the route of Apollo against Braun Breaker was the wrong. It was the right decision to get it out of the way, but it would be the wrong decision for believability purposes because Braun Breaker has been the guy in NXT since the rebranding last year. And I think, if anything, Apollo Crews will win gold in NXT as the North American champion, but not the world champion. Braun Breaker takes this one because if they were going to take the belt off of Braun Breaker, then they should have given it to JD McDonough, in my opinion. So, to run down it once again, you have the New Day winning the World Tag Team titles from Pretty Deadly, even though that by far is the closest match I have to it could go either way. But I'm going to pick the New Day as the winners because it may be time to take the belts off Pretty Deadly and go a different route as we rebuild NXT. Because who knows, maybe Pretty Deadly could be making the move up to the main roster. You never really know. As far as Ilsa Dawn and Alba Fire, there is no doubt in my mind Ilsa Dawn will win unless Ilsa Dawn is gone after tonight. Then Ilsa Dawn will win because you can't have her lose her debut in NXT if she's sticking around. The initial idea for the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge match was that Roxanne Perez would get the win and become the person to dethrone Mandy Rose. But if they don't want the winner of the Iron Survivor Challenge, both winners, to dethrone the champion, then I would allow Indy Hartwell to be the one that falls short because I think then I would say the World Championship should be the one that falls short because Mandy Rose needs to drop the title soon. Otherwise, people will start getting a little bit exhausted of having a heel champion. But I think that going the route of Roxanne Perez winning this match would be a little bit of a easy way for people to turn on her. So I think going with Indy Hartwell is the right decision. Melo, the only reason why Melo should still be down here in NXT at this point is if he's going for the world title and to be the one to beat Braun Breaker. So I think Melo will be the one to win the Iron Survivor Challenge. And as I mentioned, Breaker will be the NXT champion at the end of tonight to fight Melo at a future time. So going into 2023, Braun Breaker against Carmelo Hayes and Indy Hartwell against Mandy Rose as the top of the card looks a little bit interesting for NXT, especially if the New Day are the tag team champions. Let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts on what's going to happen at the final NXT event of 2022. And if you're enjoying this type of content or agree or even disagree with anything that I said in this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because any and all interactions are helpful and very much appreciated because they get us more attention from the algorithm. With that being said, I will see you all again soon. But don't forget before you go to ding dong that bell to always know when a new video is up on the channel. And I will see you soon.